is the Scorecard, where you score the latest sports news and in-depth views. I'm Erika Kristensen-Lee. Tonight on the Scorecard. Strong group athletics back UE booted players. Obet Vital reveals strong support continues. OKC Thunder fulfill a dream. City United joyous parade for first NBA title. Meanwhile, it's Porziņģis to Hawks as blockbuster three-team trade shakes up NBA draft landscape. And the WNBA Fever bounce back. Indiana stuns Storm 94-86. In Major League Baseball, Rodríguez delivers clutch sac fly. Mariners edge Twins 6-5 for 8th win in 11 games. And Anton Rojas gets up close with International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation World Champion Isaac Doederlein. All the headlines and more on the Scorecard tonight, the 25th of June. Now, here's a roundup. When the going gets tough for these young warriors, strong group athletics stepped up big time, ensuring that booted University of the East players stay on track toward their dreams. Obet Vital, former mentor of the UE Lady Red Warriors, delivered a heartwarming update. Strong group athletics led by Frank Lau is keeping the flame alive for players who found themselves out of the UE program after the school's latest tryouts. Vital took to Facebook to share how SGA has extended a lifeline covering tuition fees, food and dorm allowances for seniors, and even securing new homes with full athletic scholarships for rookies. Vital in his statement said, "Ups and downs are part of the path. At this moment, we choose to focus on the brighter road ahead," and praised the swift action of Frank and the SGA family for making sure that these athletes still have a shot at success. Meanwhile, the University of the East stood by its rigorous and merit-based selection process, stressing that its athlete service grants are a privilege, not a guarantee, tied to active contribution in the school's athletic and academic mission. It was pure magic in Oklahoma City as fans and players came together like family, celebrating a championship that felt like a dream come true for an entire community. After years of hoping and believing, Oklahoma City finally has an NBA champion to call its own. The Thunder lifted the trophy for the first time ever since moving from Seattle in 2008, and the celebration was nothing short of beautiful. More than 500,000 people, mothers and fathers, grandparents and kids, friends and neighbors all packed the streets, some waiting even 10 hours just to share this once-in-a-lifetime moment with their team. NBA MVP and Finals MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander walked among the crowd, shirtless with a Canadian flag around his waist, holding the trophy out so fans could feel it with their own hands. It was a celebration of togetherness of a city and a team that grew and believed side by side. Players sprayed champagne, posed for photos, and tossed out souvenirs as they rode open-top buses through a sea of smiling faces. Chants of OKC filled the air. Tears of joy streamed down faces young and old. The parade wasn't just about basketball here. It was about a city celebrating a dream realized, a family of fans and players who made history together. Moving on to Major League Baseball, Julio Rodríguez stepped up when it counted the most, sending a deep drive that sealed a thrilling ninth-inning escape for the Seattle Mariners, who continue their hot streak with an 8th win in 11 games. The Seattle Mariners just keep finding ways to win here, and this time it was Julio Rodríguez who played the hero. In a heart-pounding ninth inning, Rodríguez unloaded a sacrifice fly to deep right field, bringing home Dylan Moore for the go-ahead run as the Mariners nipped the Minnesota Twins at 6-5. Minnesota fell behind 5-0 early but fought back to level the score in the fourth, only to see their slump continue with a 5th straight loss and 15 in 18 games. Duran got into trouble after hitting George Polanco with 1 out, then hitting JP. Crawford to load the bases after Cole Young's single that set the stage for Rodríguez to lift the Mariners with his clutch swing. The Twins tried to counter, though, intentionally walking MLB home run leader Cal Larale to reload the bases, but Duran managed to strike out Randy Arozarena to limit the damage. Andres Munoz shut the door in the 8th with a perfect frame, and Matt Brash followed it up with a 1-2-3 ninth to lock in his first save since 2023. Now, Seattle's offense fired up early, scoring 5 in the third with key hits from Rodríguez, Raleigh, and Donovan Solano. The Mariners took their shots, getting hit 3 times by pitches, but stayed composed to close it out. For the Twins, Cody Clemens blasted a homer and Ryan Jeffers ripped a 2-out, 2-run double, but it wasn't enough to halt their slide. Now in the WNBA, the Fever needed a breakthrough, and they got one finally in Seattle, thanks to a monster night from Aaliyah Boston and a full-team effort that overcame Caitlin Clark's cold shooting. Caitlin Clark struggled again from the field, but Indiana Fever showed they're more than just one star, breaking out of a losing funk with a 94-86 win over the red-hot Seattle Storm to wrap up their Western road trip. Aaliyah Boston took over, pouring in 31 points and grabbing 8 rebounds, while Kelsey Mitchell torched Seattle with 26 points and a scorching 5 of 7 from deep. Lexi Hall came alive in the second half, dropping 15 points and pulling down 11 boards. Now, despite Caitlin Clark finishing with just 6 points, the Fever dominated the glass, out-rebounding Seattle 38-21 and collecting 15 offensive rebounds. Damiris Dantas chipped in 10 points before leaving to join Brazil's national team. Seattle came in riding a 3-game win streak, but even strong performances from Skylar Diggins-Smith with 22 points, Erica Wheeler with 20, and Nneka Ogwumike 16 weren't enough to hold off Indiana's resurgence. Indiana ends their road trip with a statement, and they're headed home with momentum. And here's your daily dose of sports lingo. What do you call the spectacular aerial techniques in wushu where athletes seem to defy gravity and fly through the air? The answer is Teng Kong, a term that literally means soaring in the air or aerial in Chinese. Now, in wushu, Teng Kong refers to dynamic jumping techniques where the athlete leaves the ground to execute spins, kicks, or even acrobatic moves before landing with precision. Now, these movements demand strength, flexibility, balance, and perfect timing to score high in the competitions. The more complex the Teng Kong move is, the higher the degree of difficulty points awarded by judges. So, the next time you see a wushu athlete take flight, remember you're witnessing the art of Teng Kong, where grace meets power in midair. Now it is time for our off-court buzzer. The NBA offseason just delivered a double dose of fireworks. A blockbuster 3-team trade and a massive contract extension have shifted the balance of power all across the league. Kristaps Porziņģis is headed to Atlanta in a blockbuster 3-team deal that's rocked the NBA draft landscape. The Latvian big man leaves the defending champion Boston Celtics for the Atlanta Hawks, while Brooklyn stocks up on picks and depth. The Celtics land Georges Niang and a future second. Brooklyn picks up Terrence Mann and Atlanta's number 22 pick, bringing their first-round total to 5. Boston, who also dealt Drew Holiday earlier this week, clears major cap space as Jason Tatum recovers from an Achilles injury. Atlanta gets its star. Brooklyn dominates draft night. Boston executes cap strategy to perfection. And in Dallas, Kyrie Irving is staying put. The Mavericks have locked in the star guard to a 3-year deal, $119 million contract, declining his $43 million option to secure long-term stability. Now, this deal includes a player option for 2027 to 2028 and solidifies Kyrie's partnership with Anthony Davis and number 1 pick, Cooper Flagg. Despite recovering from an ACL injury, Kyrie hopes to return by January of next year and says that this deal is built on mutual trust and a shared championship vision. Irving posted 24.7 points, 4.8 boards, and 4.6 assists last season and has been praised for his leadership since arriving in 2023. With room to add veteran talent, Dallas is going all in. Now, 2 massive moves here, 2 very different strategies, and 1 clear message from the NBA. The title chase is on. And that's our roundup for tonight, the 25th of June. Up next, Anton Rojas gets up close with International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation World Champion Isaac Doederlein. Keep it here on the Scorecard. Welcome back to the Scorecard. International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt world champion Isaac Doederlein flew all the way to the Philippines to conduct an exclusive clinic in the first ever Grapple Island event held in Pangasinan, and Anton Rojas was there to catch the action and get up close with the champion. Check this out.
Hello everybody, it's Anton Rojas from the Scorecard on the Bilyonaryo News Channel, and we are all the way out here in Dasol, Pangasinan for the first ever Grapple Island. And of course, the star of the show, the guy that everybody, each participant came here to see and learn from, Natty Daddy himself, Isaac Doederlein. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you for having me.
So you started your introduction on Instagram as Natty Daddy. Could you tell me where that originated
Absolutely,
from?
absolutely. So, competing in Jiu-Jitsu, I've been doing it my whole life, basically 20 years. And when I got to the black belt level, I noticed that a lot of the people that were fighting were very strong, okay? And pretty quickly, I learned that steroids are very prevalent in Jiu-Jitsu, mainly for the reason that it's not really tested against yet. The only time they test you is if you win the IBJJF World Championships. And if you win first place, then they test you, right? So because of this, and because of the culture for so many years, everybody, like probably I would say 90% of the people that I'm facing, or maybe more, are on steroids. So they have like an unfair strength advantage. So it's very frustrating for me because, I'm not one to take shortcuts. And for myself, it took me 6 years as a black belt to finally win my first black belt world title. And obviously it took me longer than most, right? I was 29 years old when I did it. Yeah. And I could have earlier on in my career just said, screw it, I'm gonna do steroids. I'm gonna find an unfair advantage. Maybe not even an unfair advantage because the others are doing it, right? But I decided not to because of my morals, because I truly believe that it's not right. I don't think it's good for the children, the kids in the community, because there's so many kids coming up now in the community. For them to look up to the athletes and say, oh, they're doing steroids, I want to do it too, and then they're starting at a young age, and then when they're older, they're having health problems, right? And I don't necessarily feel like, I'm supposed to be a role model, because I think it's very hard to hold yourself to that kind of standard. But at the end of the day, like, I want to do what's morally right, not just for myself and for my children that look up to me, but to all the others, right? Because it's a very difficult thing to do. So that's where the natty comes from, and the daddy, I have 3 kids. So yeah, that's why they call me the Natty Daddy.
Yeah, I like it. So you started in Atlanta, 11, got into judo, but transitioned to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 14. Yeah. So what clicked for you and that you decided to make that shift?
So when I started doing judo as a kid, it was like judo, but like kids jiu-jitsu, right? It was like kind of like a mix of both. And that was actually when I lived in Minnesota. And when I moved to Arizona, which is where I spent my years studying in high school, I got exposed to more of like that higher level West Coast jiu-jitsu in California, where people were competing more in the IBJJF, right? And so that's when I started getting exposed to really like modern jiu-jitsu, seeing athletes like Cobrinha and Bruno Ferzato and Michael Lange. These people at that time were like winning the world championships, and their jiu-jitsu was like really, really high level. So that's when I got exposed to that scene. And I was literally like in high school, I basically cheated my way through high school. Not because like I wanted to, but because the way that the school system works, I don't know how it is here in the Philippines, but in the US, it's structured in a way it's not for everybody, right? So like, for example, like I'm really ADHD basically. And when I was younger, I was put in actually special education, because I had a harder time learning from the other kids. I had a harder time learning the same way as the other kids, right? So growing up, I actually believed that I was like kind of dumb. So because of this, it taught me how to like learn and excel in jiu-jitsu. But also this made my academic career very, very poor, because like I couldn't learn the way the other kids did. So because of this, all my friends went to college, and I said, man, like the only option I have is to do jiu-jitsu. So I loved it, but I also did it because I had no other choice. So I just decided to put all my eggs in one basket, I moved to LA when I was 18 years old, and I started training with Corbina, and I never looked back.
And you have your own gym.
Yeah, I'm working on my own gym.
Working on
so
your own
I've had,
gym.
Yeah, so it's called Varsity Jiu-Jitsu. It's in Monterey Park, just outside of downtown LA, in California. And we're still in the works right now, right? We're still dealing with some city stuff, permitting and things like that. But hopefully soon in the near future, we're gonna start building, and yeah, we'll have a big, beautiful gym, 7,000 square feet, and where I'll be able to kind of like put my roots and start my own program.
Awesome. Isaac, I heard it's your third time here in the Philippines.
Yes.
How has the experience been so far?
Man, I love the Philippines. I feel like every time that I come to the Philippines, it's like my first time doing something, right? And it gets like crazier and crazier every time. Like the first time I came, it was like, you know, trying like sisig or like fried chicken, like the Filipino food, right? So that's like pretty standard, but it was cool, it was fun. And then like the second time I came out here, I went to Batangas, and I went scuba diving.
Okay.
So and then that was like that was something I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that was my third time coming out here, and like I've been shooting guns. I rode ATVs. I'm like teaching seminars on the beach.
Isaac, I'm sure a lot of people are very thankful that you decided to come back here and be a part of this first ever event, Grapple Island. What's it like having to teach a bunch of guys here who, of course, went all the way out here to learn from somebody like you?
Absolutely. So what I think was really special about this experience, different from most, is because the people that wanted to learn with me today really wanted to learn with me because they had to come all the way out here, right? So it kind of like, I would say like filtered out the ones that like, oh, maybe I'll do it, to the ones that like really wanted to be here. And the reason why that's so special to me is because if they really want to be here, then they're really going to take something away from the experience, right? So I felt like today, after the seminar, we had like a Q&A portion, and everyone was asking me like questions, and that's actually, people ask me what I enjoy about seminars, and my favorite part is actually the Q&A portion, because that's when I can really help you, okay? Like I can give you a lot of good techniques, and for most people, they can like absorb it and then like write it down, and in the future it'll help them. But if someone comes to me with a question, they're already seeking the answer because they're facing the problem. So the fact that like I can immediately give them the answer to their problem, they're gonna be able to apply it right away because they've been seeking the answer for a while and they couldn't find it.
So, exciting news. I heard the UFC came up with this first ever reality show for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and looking at the article that I saw, your name was on the list of lightweights. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we actually finished filming last week. It was a pretty crazy experience because they took our phones away. So for an entire week, we're just like, you know, we're in the mix with all these other guys, with the competitors and with the coaches. And it was a really good experience. Like I was able to bond with my team. I feel like we created like a good bond, and I can't give too many details, obviously, until the show drops. But it was my first time ever competing nogi as a professional.
Yeah.
And man, I had a great time.
So you just said that you are still in the prime of your career, and I heard also that you are kind of in the crossroads, whereas you're trying to raise your children and at the same time still having that desire to become a world champion.
Absolutely.
So how is that juggling the responsibilities as a father, family man, and of course your love for the sport?
It's a lot, obviously. You know, having 3 children, right? It requires a lot of your attention, but I really believe at the end of the day that if you are able to organize your time correctly, you can make the most of it, right? So I truly believe that because I have my children, because I have my wife and like our family, it makes me maximize the time that I have when it's time to grind, right? So I get X amount of hours per day, right? I don't have as many hours as I used to. We're making each other better, and I truly believe that because of the situation that I'm in, it's making me better. And yeah, I believe that I'm in my prime, and I'm 32. I feel great. I'm as technical as I've ever been. I have good people around me, and I feel like I at least have like 2-3 really good years left to maximize in my career, and then after that, really focus on what's beyond.
The founder of Grapple Island, Luis Angalang, says that one of the goals of this type of event and opportunity to get wisdom from you is to build a community, because it's very small, and in the competitions people see each other all the time, and it's not always about trying to prove that you're better than the other guy, but rather a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So it reflects what you just shared to me early on. How big of a deal is it that in this part of the world we have that type of culture?
I think it's really, it shows the maturity, right, of how jiu-jitsu is growing over here. I think it's really special because I feel like in the beginning stage, it seems like everywhere, like organically, when jiu-jitsu just first comes to a new area, it seems a little more like I don't want to use this word, but like I guess like a gang mentality, right? Where it's like us versus them, right? But then you start to like the longer, and that gang mentality are like more territorial, right? But like the more you do jiu-jitsu and the more you compete and the more you're around the community, you start to realize like, man, like we're just where we are in the world, we're just small fish in a big pond. So why not just stick together, grow our community together, and everyone gets better, right? So I think it's very special, like what's happening here. That just shows how long jiu-jitsu, how far it's come in this community. So I think it's really cool to see.
Prof. Isaac, lastly, you said that you feel that at the age of 32, you have 2 or 3 good years left in you, in your prime. What's the one thing you want to achieve before you finally hang it up and just focus on your family?
I want to win the UFC title, the lightweight UFC title.
So there you go. That's something we are manifesting here on the
Absolutely.
Scorecard here in the Philippines. Isaac, thank you so much
Thank you. I
for
appreciate
coming
it.
back.
Honored. Thank you.
Up next, two teams, two trajectories. Breanna Stewart looks to reset the Liberty dynasty, but Kayla Thornton and the Valkyries have other plans. Momentum is a dangerous thing here, and this game might tip the balance. Tune in, lock in, and keep your eyes on the prize. Welcome back to the Scorecard. It is time to keep your eyes on the prize. All right, hoops heads, get your popcorn because we've got something spicy in here. We've got a very spicy midweek matchup that is flying under the radar. New York Liberty, the defending champs, are limping into San Francisco to take on the upstart Golden State Valkyries. Now the question is, who've won 5 of their last 6 and just punched the Connecticut Sun in the mouth? So let's start with the Liberty. Yes, they're 10-3. And yes, they've got Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, but this team has dropped 2 straight on the road and 3 of their last 4. Now that 21 turnover nightmare in Seattle, that wasn't just sloppy. That was actually borderline concerning. Don't you guys agree? Ionescu's dealing with a neck issue here. Jonquil Jones is still out with an ankle, and their bench is looking absolutely thin. You love what? Maureen Johans gave them against Seattle 5 of 5 shooting, 17 points, but that can't just quite be your insurance policy every night, right? Now enter the Valkyries. Golden State is 7-2-6 rather, 5-2 at home, and playing their best ball of the season here. Kayla Thornton dropped 21 in their blowout win over the Sun, but the name you need to know is Laetitia Amihere. First career double-double, this team is crashing the boards and grinding out possession. Now they've held 2 straight opponents under 17. That's not just defense, that's identity. And they're doing it with hustle players like Stephanie Talbot and energy glue like Veronica Burton. This is round 3 between these 2 teams. Liberty took the last one at 82-77 behind 27 from Stewart. But here's the catch, all right? Golden State's defense is way sharper now. I don't know if you noticed, but I did. And Stewart's going to be carrying the bulk of the load again. Thornton versus Stewart. Yep, that is your headline here. But the bench war could swing this game. Valkyries are deeper right now. They're healthier and they're also playing at home. This is a huge advantage. Liberty at 45.4% field goal shooting over their last 10, but 21 turnovers last game. Valkyries averaging 37.7 rebounds per game, including 10.2 offensive boards. New York's defense, best in the WNBA, allowing 77.2 per game. Golden State's home record is 5-2, and it's looking to trend up even more. So here we go. East versus West, defending champs versus the league's newest disruptors. The big question is, will New York regroup, or will Golden State make another statement in front of their home crowd? So I want you to ponder on that. But in the meantime, stay locked in as the chase for the WNBA crown picks up to speed. Here's your full game breakdown ahead of the tip-off. And that's a wrap on our WNBA Showdown preview. The Liberty are looking to make a statement, but the Valkyries have the momentum and the home crowd here. Oh, the spotlight is on. The stage is so set. So tune in, lock in, and keep your eyes on the prize. Now, before we go, think on this. From the only boxer in history to win world titles in 8 different weight divisions, a feat that has never been matched before, Manny Pacquiao once said, "Never let your situation limit your destiny. With God, nothing is impossible." And with that said, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you again tomorrow on The Scorecard, where sports is our business and business is our sport, on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. This is Erika Kristensen-Lee. Have a good evening.